Welcome back to RandomRodShop. Today we're going to make this look like this. Okay folks, welcome back to RandomRodShop. Well, yesterday I spent the time welding the rest of the floor pan on that 67. I'll leave a link here if you missed that video. And I really wanted to get that cab set on the 67 frame, but I don't have the cab mounts. So we're going to shift over to the 1957 Chevy pickup. And I've got it flipped over here. Let's have a look at it. Okay, so I've got it flipped over here. I've just got it flipped on its back. I was looking at this, and we've got some rust right there. It's kind of scabby looking. I knew the cab corners were bad. But there's really not a lot of floorboard rust in this. The bottom of the, I guess, rocker, if you want to call it, they're not rusted out. They're bent, but it looks like that line is pretty straight. So got some rust here, but all in all, this thing's not in bad shape. And you know, that's relative to the 67, which may have been a little worse than I thought. So where are the problems? Well, problems is these door hinge mounts. I don't know if you can see in there. This one is kind of wallowed out quite a bit, and obviously the corner is rusted out. That cab brace right there has a little bit of, you know, mess on it. This side, I've already taken this out so we can see inside, but this actually door hinge mount isn't so bad. It's got quite a bit of pitting here. I haven't decided what I'm going to do about that. And this bottom piece, you can see I've already got it out. I've got it laying on the table over here. Got a little bit of mess there in that A-pillar, but that's all on the outside. Looks like we should be able to fix that up pretty good. And I think the other side cowl has a hole in it. Yeah. So there's we're going to have to get into the bottom of the cowls, but that doesn't concern me too much. All right, I'm going to shift the camera over. I've got this out. Let's have a look at this. All right, so this is the inner, piece that I showed that we had taken off. And this, let's see here. Yeah, this piece goes on like so. There's a flange that runs around the bottom, flange on the top, there's a flange up here. This isn't flange, this isn't connected here, and it's not connected down here. So we need to make one of these. And this is the front cab mount. And let's see here. Yeah, this goes like this. So I'm kind of scoping it out here. Still thinking about how we're going to make this one. That's 1/8 inch plate, by the way. And remember, on this one, the plan was not to buy anything. So we're gonna do our best to make everything. I bought new cab corners, got the things on sale, and those are a bear to make. So for me anyway. So I have the outside cab corners, but everything else, my plan is to do our best to make it. This is an interesting piece. Right? It's concave here. It's got a off square bend, and then it's flange. So I'm really trying to figure out the best way to make it. Remembering that I got to make both sides. I got this one out so I can show you what it looked like before we started this mess in terms of the shape. So kind of scoping it out. I don't know if I've got the skill to actually make this in one piece. This bump out right here. I'm thinking, again, we're gonna mimic what Fitzy does, and see if we can make up multiple pieces here. The flanges, I can bend those and I can shrink those. This, I think technically I could get that in a bead roller and I could probably bead roll that, but this piece, I don't know if I have the skill set to stretch that metal and get it in shape that much. So I'm thinking come across with a flat plate, if you will, and then this will be the challenge here because it dips and curves. We're gonna get started on it. We'll see how it works out. Well, I can tell you that was significantly more complicated than I thought it was going to be. But got it all welded together. I ended up using this piece of the old one. The metal was still good, but replaced all of this. Holy smokes. Anyway, now before we put this in, we need to see if we can figure out the mounting. All right, I've had that piece in and out trying to get it to fit. Let's see here. So, the captivated nut over here, and you can see that it's made to move left and right. There's no up and down play, but it's made to move left and right so you can adjust the door. There we go. So, need to replicate that over here. Looks like we have just a little bit of rust here. Doesn't look that bad. Need to poke at this and see how bad that is. Let me get that cleaned up, and then we're gonna have to figure out that nut. Probably gonna have to make a nut. All right, well, let me get this cleaned up. Get it all ground off. I still got some old spot welds. Get it all ground off so I can see what's going on and see if we're going to have to do something here. Well, as you might expect, things turned out to be a little more complicated than I thought. So, had to rebuild the bottom of this door hinge pocket. So this is all new sheet metal here. Made a new cage nut. And I think I showed you this, right? Got that thing to go in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in, and then I'm gonna show you the other side because it looks just like this, and I'll talk you through what I did to get to this point. Before I forget, the rust just keeps on coming, so I'm not going to weld this top down because I've got to cut this out, cut this out. All right, basically I got to make this new corner. So I'm going to focus on getting this welded in down here. Then we'll come back after we fix this and we'll weld this down. So let me go get some C-clamps. I'm at vice grips. All right, well that one's welded in. Still got to cut this top out and fix that, and obviously got to clean up some of this mess here. But this corner is now solid. Well, let's look at this thing. So interestingly enough, I still don't have the cab mount. This is the cab mount, and it's supposed to look like that. This one, I'm gonna have to work on this one. This is for the driver's side. This is for the passenger side, the one that came off the one we've just been working on. And this piece here is rusted in two, and I didn't even know that was missing. So I'm gonna have to rebuild that entire cab mount, which was the goal of this whole thing, right? Get this thing, get the bottom done, the cab mount's done, so we can set it on frame. Oh well, here is what I come up with the captive nut. So a lot of measuring, and you know, comparing to the ones on the top are not rusted through. So basically made this cardboard template like so, and cut it out of a piece of shelving, and I made so this is the nut, right, that slides around in here. This is just a little bit bigger all the way around, and what I decided, I guess, was I'd make like a forming die. So this hopefully screws on here. Like so, and I put a nut because I need something to hang on to it in the vise. So I stuck this nut on the bottom. And let's see if we can get this in the vise. So we have a captive nut. And remember that that male die right there is bigger than the nut that I made to go in there. The nut is right at 1 inch by 3/4 of an inch, and it's made out of 3/8 plate. So all we got to do now is slot that hole. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and get this, I'm just gonna take a file, right? So let me get this filed out and I'll get right back to you. All right, well, that wasn't too bad. We got a cage nut. It slides. Should do what it's supposed to do. All right. Now, I made this, I don't even know what I want to call it. Support, maybe just a support. It's what you saw me, that's what we just put in on the pasture side. Now on the pasture side, it was, the flanges were a lot better shape on this half of it, so basically I just cut around this and just rebuilt this. But I don't know about this one. This one's kind of thin all the way across. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to make this. I've still got the patterns. All right, got the pattern that I used on the other side. And it is hard to figure out where it fits here because this thing is just so bent up. Okay, well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out the piece for, make a pattern for the one I didn't make and see if I can tape this thing together and fit it up in there and see if it's going to fit. Okay, well, it may be a bit before I get back to you. Well, folks, now that was a fiddly piece of metal. This is definitely one of those cases where buying this would have been a lot easier. But, the decision was we're going to try to make everything for this 57. Holy smokes. There is a lot of bends and curves and tweaks and... Okay, well, now I'm at the point I need to put the rust converter, clean that driver's side up, put the rust converter on it, and get it all painted, and see if I can stick this and the weld nut, or the cage nut, I guess it's over there. Get the cage nut welded on, and then I guess we get to work with the actual cab mounts. It's kind of amazing. I think I got better off and on 4 days into this mess, and we still haven't got to the cab mounts. All right, well, let me get the rust converter on, let me get this painted, and we'll get it drilled and see if we get it in. And when you see me again, hopefully we're gonna start thinking about actually making some cab mounts. All right. Well, that thing's painted and it's in. I still don't have the top welded up. So both of those are in. And it occurred to me, that I said these were the cab mounts. They're not the cab mounts. They're the bolt for the bottom of the front fenders. Not sure what I was thinking. Anyway, while that paint was drying and the rust converter was converting and all that stuff, I made a paper pattern for the fender mounts. This one was kind of chewed up. So what I've got is I've got another, all right, so that fits up there. That basically needs to replace the bottom that's all boogered up. And this piece needs to go on there because that tab was rusted off. And then on the other one, this tab area is rusted pretty good in it, so I'm going to use part of this and go ahead and patch that. And that should get the front up and going. So, let me see if I can get this together. The way this is cut, I need to flush that edge up with this edge. So I thought I'd just let the vise hold it and weld it right there. All right. The other thing is, I know you wouldn't believe this, but first time I made this piece, I bent it the wrong way. So, I like to make sure that it gets bent the right way. Let's see here. You know, I think I'm going to take it out and make sure. All right. So, it needs to go that way, and this thing needs to go up like that. All right. Now, extensively, I weld that on there, and we should be golden. Let's see. Thought I better check one more time. Well, I think that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and weld that in there. I guess if it's not, we can do it again. All right, let's weld it on. Let it cool off, get it ground down, it should be all right. Now, I need to decide how I'm going to cut that off. I think I'm going to just take it to the bandsaw. I'll get right back. All right, well, this is one of those times you get a dilemma. It's got pretty deep corrosion in a couple of places here. But overall, it seems like it's in pretty, it's pretty solid. I think what I'm going to do, and we'll find out real fast if I burn holes in this thing, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just MIG up these holes right here. I think there's still quite a bit of metal there, but let me MIG those things up, and we'll find out real fast whether that was a good idea. All right, I'm going to grind that off, and we can have a look at it. Well, I think that's going to work. Got the two big corrosion points, and it was getting pretty thin. Almost came through the back side. But it's welded up now. Let's see if we can get this thing, welded together. I may have to let it cool off a little bit. All right, let's see if this thing's gonna fit. Looks like it's bowed in a little bit. Well, let's see what it looks like. Oh, I'm going to have to go ahead and bend that. Yep, I'm going to have to bend that down. Let me go stick it in the vise. I'll get right back. Well, that'd probably make a difference. Put it on the right side. I couldn't figure out why this thing it just didn't seem like it was going to fit at all. Anyway, it goes on this side. Just like that. And I've got an 1/8" pilot hole here drilled, so I know where the hole's at. So let me, let me pull that screw out and probably re-drill it so I can tap into this. And we'll get this thing mounted up here. Looks like I need to clean that off. Well, I better weld this up. It looks like it's going to fit. Let me weld this up and get this thing cleaned off. And we'll squirt some paint on it. Let's see if we can move on down the road. Okay. Well, okay. I went ahead and I got them painted, and I've just got these brackets screwed in. That one, just going to wait until I get this all together. This one I don't have much of an excuse other than I think I'm done. But it all fits together. I think it actually all looks pretty good. I can tell you, those corners were a whole lot more work than I anticipated up front. But as I've looked over this floor, you know, it's sad to say, but this 57 is in a lot better shape than that 67. I think let me get the camera down. I've looked it over pretty good, and obviously we got the inner and outer cab corners. The rockers are kind of tweaked, but it doesn't look like they're rusted out, so just enough to do some straightening on them. There is some rust right here on the passenger side, but I don't see any on the driver's side that I've found yet. So, and the cab corner down there. But I'm not finding any other real rust on this cab, on the bottom anyway. You know, we had our own issues with the eyebrow, but this actually is turning out to be a fairly clean cab. My thought was they were about the same, and the 67 was all we're going to buy all the parts. The 57, we're going to make all the parts, but I'm not sure that's going to turn out too well this time, or at least fair, right? But we're going to keep going. Maybe the door is going to make up the difference, because I seem to remember that the 57 doors need some work on the bottom of them. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Leave a comment. I answer all the comments. And until next time, I'm Random at RandomRodShop, and I'm out of here.